everyone, and thank you for being here. Welcome to this channel. My name is Janet and I'm working through the King James's Bible. I'm going to do that within this year. That is my goal for 2022, to read through the Bible, because it is a book that is so historic. It is it affects a lot of things in our world, how we see the world, how the world has been created. It has so much in it, and not everybody understands it fully. So we've had a lot of information that goes kind of like Chinese whispers. Somebody says this is how they see the world and other people take that on. And I think it's a good thing just to read it for yourself, get your own perspective. You don't have to come from any specific religious background. Obviously, we have certain religions that do use it on a daily basis to fulfill their lives, to make their lives better. I'm coming with a very open heart. I don't want to put a label onto myself. That's where I'm at. And I don't judge anybody for what they believe or feel. I am coming with curious eyes. I want to understand the Bible. I have been drawn to it this year, and so I'm following that calling within me, because I think there is something in it that can make our lives better. That's how I feel, and I think I really want to understand it from that kind of place, really. That's where I'm coming from. So I'm going to go through a quick synopsis of the 3 chapters that I've read today, because we are in the book of Genesis. This is where it starts. So we're going to be reading through chapters 1 to 3. I've posted links under this video so that if you don't have basically the Bible yourself, you don't have a copy on you, then you can easily click on the links and you'll get the information there. You can either read it yourself or you can click the audio and have it read to you. That's the beauty of technology today. We can have the Bible at our fingertips and we can access it wherever we are and whenever we need it. So let's get started with going through the chapters. These are the first 3 chapters, and I just want to read first from the very beginning. Chapter 1. Here we go. In the beginning God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So here we are, we're starting to see how God created the world. And we're on day 1. He is creating day and night. But what I really noticed at the very beginning is how water was there, the first form before anything else. And if you look at life today, water is the most transmuting thing in our planet. It's within us, it's in the seas, it's in the oceans, it's in the sky, it's the rain that falls down in the earth. It gives us life. We need water. So you see how prominent water is, and it really, I saw that, just how amazing water is, really, as well, how it is such a important part of our world. So as we move on from day 1, God has created day and night. On day 2, he creates heaven. Then on the 3rd day, God creates earth, the seas, plants, seeds, and so on. On the 4th day, God creates stars, seasons, days, and years. On the 5th day, all living things. So he creates living things in the sea, in the sky, and on the earth. And they creepeth. That's what I love about reading the Bible, because you can see how the language is so old and not how we kind of write or speak today. And on the 6th day, man and woman were created in God's image and were given dominion over or living things. So we really are the caretakers of God's world. So that's chapter 1. Then as we move into chapter 2, we see the seventh day, which is when God rests, because heaven and earth are finally finished and they are good. So he rests from his work and he blesses this day. So as you know, Sunday is a day of rest in a lot of places. I know today we have become very, very busy working, and we work around the clock now. So it's not always a day of rest for everyone, but that was how life began, and we did have that Sunday as a day of rest. I remember when I was a kid, Sunday was no shops were open, it was just silent. It was a day where you did study, go to Sunday school, you devoted your time to God. That was part of quite a lot of people's lives back in the 70s and 80s. So the seventh day was the day of rest. And then we see God in chapter 1 classed as God, but then his name changes slightly in chapter 2, where we hear Lord God is referred to as Lord God, which is the same, but I feel it's because man and woman were created, and so you suddenly have Lord God now, because he is Lord over the man and woman. And so God realizes that the earth that he created is growing, with the water again comes in, as it's making things grow. And so he needs man in order to till the ground. So what he then does is he breathes life into man, and man becomes a living soul. So then he starts creating the garden eastward of Eden, and he puts the man into this garden of Eden. And he creates in this garden the tree of life and the tree of knowledge, which is of good and evil, and various rivers and names of lands around him. And he gives man says you can eat through all the fruit and everything, but you cannot eat from the tree of knowledge, or you will surely die. So that is the first command: do not eat from the tree of knowledge. Then he brings man all the beasts and all of the different things and says that you can name them. So man then names all of these things, and he is alone. So man decides to create a companion for the man. So as the man is asleep, he then takes the rib of man and creates woman, because she came from man. So there we have a woman and a man, Adam and Eve. That is their names. So, and they are naked, and they do not know they are naked, so they are not ashamed. And that closes chapter 2. We then move on to chapter 3, where the serpent comes into play. Now, the serpent is a much more subtle than any other beast. So to me, that makes me think it's a very, manipulative, covert, just kind of creature that has been given. It suddenly appears within this world that Adam and Eve are in. And they both know that they must not eat from the tree of knowledge. But as Eve is in the garden, she is walking around, and she sees the tree of knowledge, and the serpent is there. He's sort of talking to her, and she's like, I cannot eat from this or I will die. And then the serpent says, no, you will not die. God knows your eyes will be opened, and you'll know good and evil, and you will be wise. So he's like tempting her with this information of like something that, it's, there's a drawingness, and she's going towards that, and she's looking at the fruit, and it's like almost that hypnotic things that happen. When you go for something that you shouldn't, you're pulling toward, when you're told no, you go for it, and this is not good. So she eats from the tree of knowledge. She then shares that with man, who also eats from the tree of knowledge, and then suddenly their eyes are open to good and evil, and they realize, we are naked. So they then want to hide themselves, so they get some figs and they create an apron and they hide, because God appears and they hide from God, and God says, where art thou? And this is when he realized, well, not God, but this is when they confess that they have eaten from the tree of knowledge when he told them not to, and he's like, who told you to do this? So then the man says that it was the woman, and the woman then says it's the serpent, and so it goes down the chain, and God is then obviously condemns them to die, and he gives the woman the ability to multiply. So she's given that. The serpent is given like for eat from dust. Really, I should read this because it's very detailed towards the end. So let me just read the last parts so that you can get it more clearly. So right, so we'll start with, on chapter 3, we'll start from part 14, which is, and the Lord said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between there and the woman, and between thy seed and her seed, and it shall bruise thy head, and thou shalt bruise his heel. Unto the woman he said, I will greatly multiply thy sorrow and thy conception. In sorrow thou shalt bring forth children, and thy desire shall be to thy husband, and he shall rule over thee. And unto Adam he said, because thou hast hearkened unto the voice of thy wife, and hast eaten of the tree, and of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. In sorrow shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. Thorns also and thistles shall it bring forth to thee, and thou shalt eat the herbs of the field. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, till thou return unto the ground, for out of it was thou taken, for dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. And Adam called his wife's name Eve, because she was the mother of all living. Unto Adam also and to his wife did the Lord God make coats of skins, and clothed them. And the Lord said, behold, the man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. And now, lest he put forth his hand, and take also of the tree of life, and eat and live for ever. Therefore the Lord of God sent him forth from the Garden of Eden, to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden cherubims and a flaming sword, which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. And that's how we end chapter 3. So you can see the shift, a great shift from eating from the tree of knowledge. It has shifted them to obviously have the abilities that God have to know good and evil, but it has condemned them to die, whereas the everlasting life has been taken, and the tree of life is now kind of it's away from them. It's been blocked in a way because of what they've done. So they're on a journey now. That's how I feel. They're on this journey of life, which is very like the seasons. We're going through a time and we are going to die. So it's like we are all learning from what's happened, and this is where our journey continues on. So this is how I see it. If you understand this much more deeper, and you have more knowledge to share, please do. I'd love to hear more about this, and I will read up myself and find more as well as I go along. But I mean, I'm starting out at the beginning. I've just read these chapters. I'm just getting the information, and I'm looking into it slightly deeper, but not every day is going to be that available to me to do that. So I'm just moving through this Bible, which is like a course really. It's a course of life. It's showing us life in many ways. And I find it fascinating already. Just these 3 chapters have so much depth and information, and you could read, and they do sermons. How many sermons read and just give certain scriptures and get so much depth out of them? So I mean, I'm just going through these quick 3 chapters in this short video just to give you a brief understanding of what I've read. I'm sure if you've read it yourself, you'll have your own ideas, and so yeah, share them if you like. If not, that's totally fine. It's whatever you want to do, whatever's going to make you understand it and come to whatever knowledge that you need with this. So yes, it's a very I am enjoying this journey so far. This is only day 1. Let's keep going, and just great to have you here to go through it with me. Thank you again, and let's move on tomorrow with the next chapters. Okay, take care for now. Bye.